Upside Down. And we will be talking about Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1. So it took the internet by storm over the weekend. It's like the hot trending topic everywhere. It's all over Facebook, it's all over Twitter, it's all over TikTok. And well, that is why we will be sharing our thoughts with you this evening. So we have with us, joining us all the way from San Diego, California, we have Norby Ela.
Hola, I'm Norby.
Good morning, Norby. So it's morning for Norby, but it's still in the evening for us. We have also Carljoe Javier.
Hello, kasali ako sa mga napilitan tapusin to over the weekend.
Sorry. So yeah, we had to pressure Carl. Yeah, I guess parang peer pressure na to
Feel ko
finish.
kasi ayoko ma-spoil eh.
To finish the entire volume 1, so we could do this podcast. Yes. So yeah.
All
So sorry.
13 hours of volume 1.
We will be talking about their runtime later on in the show. So I think this is the recording where we're most prepared. Like we have an outline and we took in questions. So yeah, let's see how this goes. And last but definitely not the least, all the way from the Upside Down because her screen is black as night. We have Karen May de Vera.
Hello, everyone, from the depths of the abyss.
Karen looks like she's in like Will Byers' shelter from season 1.
I just need the alikabok from the Upside Down.
Dalikabok. Okay. So yeah, so it's the four of us for this episode, and well, as I mentioned earlier, we did an outline for the show. So first of all, we will be talking about the plot lines for Volume 1, which is basically we divided it into 4 as well. So we have Hawkins, Russia, California, and quote unquote 11, or you can say Nevada, so that it's consistent with places. So these are where most of the story of Volume 1 takes place. So does anyone want to jump in with their thoughts?
It's
Carl?
like we're all waiting. Thanks, Ika. So my thoughts are that it feels like 4 different stories, and I think we were chatting about it where it felt a little bit like Game of Thrones, where you're thrown somewhere else on the map at some point, and we're hopping from one story to the next. And for me, the overall feeling is that there are some stories that I like more than others. So I don't know how we want to go by the like which one do we want to talk about first, but that's my general feeling, is that some of this feels very, very Stranger Things, and then some of them feel like it's a different show packed into Stranger Things. What did you guys think? Karen, what do you think?
Well, it's definitely reminiscent of Game of Thrones because, you've got the faceless man, Jack and Hagar, and you
I wanted
also
him to do
have,
some lines from
yeah,
A Man
and
Has
you,
to.
I know. You know what? Yeah, we'll get to that later. And then, of course, Eddie Munson also played the character in Game of Thrones. But yeah, I agree with you. Although I like that they change the color story per location so that I think that's taking a page out of Game of Thrones because they do that, right? When it's Winterfell, it's like really, it's like the blue tones, like
Mm-hmm.
really cool toned, and then warm tones for like when you're like a bit southern, mas nasa southern region. So for me, I agree. I also am emotionally invested in certain parts, but then sometimes I feel like I have to power through. Like it's a chore. Like I have to go through this part so I'll understand the other parts. But yeah, that's my challenge for this. I think just having to pay attention when I feel like I'm zoning out sometimes. Because I'm like, wait, I want to go back to that other thing. But I like the treatment where they would keep you hanging, they leave you hanging because they would have like some important reveal and then suddenly, like for example, if it's like an 11th training and then they'll reveal something very vital and then boom, we're back to California or we're back to Hawkins. So it really felt like I was traveling all over. So what do you think, Norby?
I think what all listeners should understand that all four of us watched the whole part one in in a day or 2 days,
Yeah,
and
that is
ang
correct.
sobrang haba nito, nakakasawa na. Na panoorin.
Aw.
Kasi sobrang daming nangyayari, and it's so fast paced as well. Ang daming nangyayari, you just can't keep up onto it. Parang if I get to manage my time to watch this series, this part, I would watch it in 3 to 4 days or 3 to 4, like 2 episodes per screening per viewing, rather than
Given the choice, if we're not doing this podcast
yeah
recording,
yeah yeah
I
yeah
enjoyed the binge. I went slower than you guys though. Like
yeah. I understand it.
I messaged Norby, I'm about this far in, and then his next message is, I'm done, dude. I'm like,
Done. Pero nakatulog ako. Nakita ko ilang
I
episode.
had to sleep to absorb some of the information. Although some people are doing the same thing you're doing, Carl, where they are savoring it. And as I mentioned in a friend's post, Ika and I and Dorby basically did Stranger Things mukbang and just consumed everything whole.
I usually enjoy the binge naman talaga. I don't know, siguro it's by nature. Parang I'm very impatient kasi by nature.
Yeah.
Yung
And
that,
it's
yeah.
the fear of getting spoiled by people
my
from
Oo.
the internet.
guys, and by the internet eventually. There's spoilers now. Like there's a
Yeah.
bunch of spoilers. When I opened Twitter right before our recording, my feed was full of spoilers and memes already. So
Yeah,
Mm.
Twitter is
yeah.
dangerous when if you haven't seen anything like Marvel or something. I think that's the other franchise where you really have to watch it or you're gonna get
Mm.
spoiled. I think the
Mm.
last time I felt that way was Harry Potter.
Mm.
Eh, but social media wasn't as big back then. But then you would have to like read it. I would have to read it like in a day just so I won't be spoiled by people like who died, something like that. So yeah, what do you think?
Except for Moon Knight where no one was spoiling. It's not
No.
enough people cared.
Ay,
Sad.
Oh
grabe.
no.
What? Not
Yeah, it's
enough
like
people.
the lowest viewership
View? Ay,
among
grabe.
Oscar Isaac, my love.
it's so amazing though.
Is
Anyway, but back to this.
going
Yeah,
back.
back to
I wanted
Stranger
to note
Things. Yeah.
that we all, for all of this criticism that we have, we all really loved it, right?
Yeah,
And
ako I
Yes.
super big. I mean, yung season 1 was like top tier, like the best. Talaga, I really fell in love with it. Season 2 and 3 was just okay. Parang ano nga parang when I was watching season 4, parang parang nakalimutan ko si Owens, ganyan, ganyan. Parang I forgot some stuff, ganyan, ganyan. But definitely season 4 was like a super big improvement from the past two.
I like the one with Billy as the evil guy.
Season
That
3,
that
yeah.
really worked for me. But what I was thinking was, if you took some of these storylines that we're not that interested in, they're actually really exciting. Except that in the context of a Stranger Things
Mm.
show,
Kumbaga pag
they don't feel,
pinagsama-sama sila.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Kasi,
nasa
yeah, go ahead,
I
Norbs.
think nasanay lang tayo na pinaparod natin Stranger Things as they were young. And Stranger Things 4 is like high school na sila and medyo adulting na sila. Like some of them are fucking like taking marijuana.
I think it's okay for the characters to grow up, but my core question, which I'll throw to you guys, is when you think about the show, you think, what do I watch this show for? And has it gone away from that? Because I watch Stranger Things for these dorks in Hawkins who play games and they're on bikes and they kind of have this weird friend, right? It's all this like 80s throwback stuff, but it's at its heart a horror show, and it's like kids that are being hunted. And when this is working, that's what it is. It's a bunch of teenagers dealing with a horror premise that feels like it's from the 80s. And that's why when I look at the other storylines, they inhabit the same 80s aesthetic, but they
But
do not feel like a Stranger Things show. I know
for
that might be
me,
controversial.
from the four storylines, my least favorite was yung kay 11. Siguro, I don't know, baka na nagsawa na ako with the whole
The backstory.
laboratory.
Yeah.
The whole laboratory setup, that was like my least favorite. And then, I also read kasi the Stranger Things prequel novel, Suspicious Minds, which focused on her mom. So, ganun din yung setting, ganyan. So, parang siguro ako na ano na ako, na I'm tired of the laboratory setup. My favorite was definitely the Hawkins plot. As in, I only cared about what was
You mean the
happening to
Stranger Things
them.
show in this Stranger Things season?
Yes. Kasi I guess nasa kanila yung ano yung real danger 'di ba? But as I mentioned in our group chat, I have to give props to that pizza delivery scene. Yung sequence na yon na there was that yung ano yung agent
The
superhero.
basically the military scene, right? It's
Yeah.
the
Ang ganda how they shot it, para siyang first person perspective na shooter
pang
game.
extraction, pang Russo
Pang
brothers.
talagang you can see na, oy, ang laki ng budget. You can see yung improvement with that particular scene. Sobrang, and then yun nga, ang galing nung agent na yun kasi he took out yung mga military and then pistol lang yung gamit
Just
niya. But
one
anyways,
dude.
yeah, that one dude. So yeah, that was, I like that one. So, going back to yung kay 11 in the lab scene, I guess naging maganda na lang siya in the end, yung nag-reveal na si si 001, si number 1 na na siya pala si
You're gonna sound like
yeah.
Flight of the
What?
Conchord song.
So yeah, I mean that was doon na lang siya naging relevant. But during when she has to go back, discover herself, blah 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 blah. Medyo nag-zone out ako doon sa parts na yun.
The whole California with 11 being bullied, it felt to me like a different show also. And that's the thing, is like I love Stranger Things because they do things that feel like parang they feel special when they do it. So even when it's just them playing D&D, there's a certain way that they do it that's really nice. Except that here, the whole 11 being bullied, parang I don't want to watch Stranger Things to see 11 bullied, because that doesn't feel totally there. And then when you see the parallelism, you realize, oh, they're just setting it up because it's basically kailangan natin siya i-depower para, diba? It's such a video game. It's a
Yeah.
superhero
Yeah, it's a
comic
part
trope,
one.
diba? Kailangan mo siya i-depower and then rediscover niya yung powers and everything. But the bullying seemed so excessive. Parang
Yeah, grabe.
talo pa niyang Cobra Kai bullying, yung ganun.
Nakakawa.
There were
Nakakawa.
may mga friends ako nag-comment, nagigil sila dun kay Angela kasi nga I suppose it very ano ba? You could compare it sa mga Pinoy teleserye bullying.
Very. And then it gets dropped. Like after
Yeah.
she gets arrested and it feels so heavy, like you're
Doon
put
ako na-stress yung they were gonna
Yeah.
arrest her.
Was I
I think
supposed to
ganun talaga
feel
yung bullying
bad?
talaga ng 80s.
Yeah, was I supposed to feel bad for the bully? Because like when 11 hit her, I was like, yes, deserve.
Yun nga,
I
actually,
was cheering her on.
yun yung reaction ng mga
Like,
people.
yeah, and then when I looked around, it's like, okay, everyone's horrified. After I was like cheering, and then there's like a pan of like horrified people.
I blame Finn. Like, bro, your girlfriend's getting bullied. Like, how are you so dense? You're
Yeah,
letting
I
it
was
happen.
very.
But like,
I felt like Will being super frustrated in the background every time something's happening.
but that's the thing, right? Like it's sort of all happening because it's serving a plot purpose and not because it's actually going to be emotionally important. It's more for us, but also it's more to fill out that runtime.
Yeah, it feels unnecessary na. And then what? You have another bully in Hawkins, like the
Yes.
jock bro. Like, come on, guys. I feel like we've already done this in season 1. I mean, they already faced bullies. Like, why are we going back to this again? Like, it's just a
Siguro
high school setting.
for 11, yun nga, it was for her, yun nga, to feel na she's I mean, she was hoping for a new life in California, di ba? But she doesn't fit in. Yan. So, siguro yun yung purpose nun. And then, I think yun nga, 11 striking Angela was like, parang for 11 to doubt herself. Am I a monster? Ganyan, am I... So, and then there was a thing in the start where they were making the audience think that it was 11 who killed the other children. So I think that was like
Yeah, the
supporting
show
that.
be gaslighting us. Oh, can I rank also?
Yeah.
Because you
Go,
mentioned
go, go.
So like, here's the thing. plot wise, I'm invested in Hawkins because, like you were all saying, that's really where Stranger Things is. It's like pure, unadulterated Stranger Things goodness. But then I love the set design and the vibrancy of the California plot line. Like everything's so neon and it's so peak mid 80s, you know how it gets really
It's
outrageous
Karate Kid
body, right?
and
Basically.
Glow.
So yeah, exactly. So I liked looking at it. And also there were some funny moments.
Well,
And but it does feel like
sorry.
a different uh, show whenever I go to that part and like people are getting stoned or like parang ibang movie talaga. Parang siyang road trip movie.
Yeah,
And then
Argyle belongs in a road trip movie.
yeah, and that, yeah, like as we've mentioned, the Cheech and Chong movie. And then Russia, because I'm a shipper of Joyce and Hopper, I'm still kind of pissed that they didn't show any sort of kissing scene. I don't think that's a spoiler anyway. They just hugged, so I'm like, that's it. I mean, you haven't seen this dude. You went through all that trouble. Anyway, maybe hopefully at the last in the last volume we're gonna see some action, and then for 11, ito yung sinasabi ko
Wait,
na
wait,
I
wait,
felt
wait. We're gonna see action.
family friendly action like kissing
But
and
ewan
I
ko
thank God we're
I wouldn't
aligned.
want to kiss Hopper. I'm sure wala silang toothbrush. Baka hindi sila nagtutoothbrush doon sa
Baka
Russia
sabi niya, "Wait
prison.
lang mag-grooming ka muna, tas and then let's
Si Joyce
revisit."
din, medyo galing long
Oo,
flight.
oo, medyo
Oo, di
madungis
ba?
sila pareho. Okay, I see your point.
Let's reserve it para mas maano, yeah.
Baka feeling ko talaga sa volume 2 'yan.
Isang yakap
Yeah.
lang.
Yeah, bang
Parang
yeah.
mas invested pa ako dun kaysa dun sa mga kay na Max na love story or yung kay na Nancy. Parang ako, no. I wanna know what happens to Joyce and Hopper. But also, nandun si Faceless Man. And tapos yun nga, so I was saying about 11, it felt like I just really had to power through it so that I would get all the
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
details. Kasi nga
Yeah.
nandun yung mga vital information about Vecna and everything and the overarching plotline talaga of that season. But thank goodness for Matthew Modine for being there because he's also my papa.
I, I actually don't like that reveal, if only because it feels a little too neat to me.
Yung
Unless
kay
she didn't,
Vecna?
Yeah,
she didn't, oh, or are
yeah,
you
that and
okay
then
na
the
she
11
didn't kill
thing. Yeah,
everyone?
and then the
Oo.
fact that they tie in as one, and it feels
Yeah.
tidy, and I don't like that kind of rhyming tidiness.
Parang silang they're setting it up to be like a yin and yang thing, no? Na they have the
I
Exactly.
same
think siya
abilities.
na yung big boss, no?
Yeah,
Si
but
Oo.
Juan.
but
Yeah.
diba parang they're saying that there's still like he's a general of the mind flayer. So the
Oh,
question
oo
nga is
nga. Yeah.
lalabas
O,
pa ba
sino
si
na ba talaga yung
Peter
kalaban?
and all of that.
Well, that's I think a working theory. But then the mind flayer is
Well, Dustin's
bigger.
always right.
Bigger.
Yeah.
You'd love for him
Parang
to be
hindi siya
wrong
tama.
It's
for
his
a
tone. It's
change.
his tone.
Si Dustin nagsusulat ng script eh. Kaya alam niya
Siya pala
lahat.
talaga.
No, but
Um, yeah.
if we go to the Russia storyline,
Oo.
the thing that I've been pitching to Norby and like to anyone who will bother to listen to me by now, which now
Oh.
includes all of our listeners, is that this whole Hopper Russia story, it's not what you watch Stranger Things for, but it's also something that I super enjoy. And so I would have loved it if this was like a side quest. Like if they'd
I
remove
agree.
this, diba? Like if the way that Karen has ranked these, no, parang obviously the Stranger Things show is the Hawkins stuff, and then the whole California thing could have been like a side comic book, and
Uh,
then
Yeah.
this thing would have been an in between season 3 and 4. Meron kang Hopper story because the timing of when Joyce goes to rescue Hopper is only convenient so that 11 doesn't have a guardian
Yeah, she's out of the way.
when everything happens. But like this whole thing could have been like we could have our Stranger Things show, and then you have your parang Better Call Saul spin-off with the rescue of Hopper as like a mini series that's on the
Miniseries.
side, and it
Yeah.
removes the expectations of it being a Stranger Things show, and it
I
becomes
agree.
here's a spin-off. it's its own identity, but it's set in the same world. And here you go, enjoy the adventures of Hopper in Russia. And I like Murray, like major MVP
Uh,
si Murray
I
dito sa
liked I
season
like
na to.
Murray here.
The the
Kasi
redemption
yeah,
of
may
the
redemption siya.
character.
Cause like in the previous season, parang ang annoying lang niya. And then
Yeah.
what was the name of that Russian scientist na who was killed, but everybody
Oh,
liked him. I
I
forgot
forgot
his
his
name. Yung
name.
nakasalamin and he
Si
just wanted
Slushy, yung may
yeah, he just wanted
slushy.
to try the slushy. 'Di ba? They killed him.
Yeah.
Ang
Oh
feeling
yeah,
ko
yeah.
nun nung time na yun, sana si Murray na lang yung minatay. But anyways, Murray
Oh man, si
completely
Black
yeah.
Belt Murray rocking it.
He redeems himself in this season dun sa kanyang karat. Tawa ako na tawa sa
Oo nga,
part na
kaya
yun.
nga sabi ko interesting pa rin yung Russia. Like, I would expect nga from the trailers na yun yung least kong may invest emotionally. Pero like, when I saw it unfold na, it's exciting eh. And I like
I guess that
na,
would be my
It's a
number
great
two.
story. It's
may,
a great
may,
story.
ano siya eh,
Kasi it doesn't
parang
Yeah.
Prison Break spin-off siya eh.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be my number two sa mga plot
Oo.
lines. Ang ano ko lang doon, ang comment ko lang doon is, yun nga, if Hopper really broke his foot, which was like painful to watch, I don't think he would be able to do all of the running that he did. Pero yun, super exciting lang
should-
yung
he
first
should
attempt niya rin.
He should not
Escape.
have feet at this point. If he ran to town barefoot and then gets dragged back, and for the last
ang
2
lamig
days,
ng paa niya siguro. Diba?
Nakakatawa kayo kasi this is a show with like mind flayers and like upside downs. Pero mas talaga invested kayo bakit nakakatakbo siya.
I
The
don't
problem
know.
with Russia is it's the most
Nakakatawa kayo.
grounded Stranger Things plot. Kung i-compare niyo yung plot lines ng
Yeah.
Hawkins,
I
Top
mean,
2 talaga,
I-
Hawkins and Russia,
is
man.
I
really
usually
into
let go.
Stranger Things.
I
But
usually let
Russia
go
should
of
be
these
its own-
things.
it should be its own show, right?
Yeah.
Better call.
Yeah. Better call Hopper.
Yeah.
Better call Enzo.
Prison Break Hopper, ganun.
Prison Break talaga
Prison
yung
Break.
peg niya. As in, nung pinapanood, sabi ko, this is why I like Prison Break. So when I was watching it, kasi, parang ganito lang yun.
See, rather than breaking his feet, may mga tattoos na lang
Oo.
siya, ganun.
Oo. Nandun yung
Or he
mapa.
would get a superhero suit. Crimson.
I
Dynamo.
get
And then the Black Widow shows up with the
biglang may Black Widow pala. Anyways, I mean, hello, he's the Red Guardian. di ba?
Pero okay nga kasi yung
Exactly.
essential yung adults eh. Kasi they get more of the action. I mean, not that action. But you know what I mean? Like 80s action.
That's why we get
Kasi-
confused by your
Oo.
action reference.
Kasi there's only so much the kids can do and the teens. So, nga pala, they're all teens na pala. But yeah, at least yung mga mas serious na action nandun sa mga adults. Yung mga titos
for
and
me,
titas of Hawkins.
I remember watching the first season. Like
Oo.
one of the things that I really loved about the show was that yun nga, 'di ba, what the Stranger Things would do, magdi-divide sila into groups. And then they would work on their own mystery or side quest. And then eventually they would come together.
Oo.
Yun yung gustong-gusto ko sa
Bumabreak
first
off
season.
fellowship
Yeah,
lang.
that was like
Yeah, it was the pairing off. And then this person,
Yes.
and then, syempre,
May convergence.
Dustin and Steve. So this one works for me. It's the Nancy and Robin.
Nancy and Robin, yeah.
Right. That's
Oh my gosh, I love that. Are we gonna talk? Is that later pa? Do we talk about that na?
We can talk about
Nancy
it.
and
siguro.
Robin?
Nancy and
But
Robin.
Just leaving that point of Nancy and Robin pairing off fits perfectly within the show. But
I
so
love it.
right?
Yeah, I agree. And also the actors are friends talaga. Like I really asked about it because I was so obsessed with like the Ruth and Rose scene. Like everyone's talking about the Max scene sa Dear Billy, but for me, it was really Ruth and Rose, basically Robin and Nancy teaming up and having some 80s undercover adventure. I loved it. And then she had this whole speech about feminism. And I was like, yes, girl, do what you can to get in there. So yeah, I loved their story, with like, and then they got to meet freaking Nightmare on Elm Street dude, Freddy Krueger himself. Robert Englund was there as Victor Creel. So I love that. Also, can I ask pala, because we keep talking about it being the Game of Thrones. My question is, did it work for Game of Thrones and does it work for Stranger Things that there are so many different locations and different plot lines for this season?
So just to follow up on the Game of Thrones things, Karen. One, Eddie Munson is one of the best additions.
Yes.
He fits this story perfectly. He is the kind of character that belongs in
He
Stranger
is
Things.
he's such an 80s character. I
Diba?
love it.
I
And
love
Yeah.
him.
I love
Oh,
it.
Two-year
I love
dropout.
he has a moment with Steve, and basically parang there, 'di ba? Like he's when he says, "Oh, Steve, I'm supposed to hate you," and all
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
And they're such 80s dudes, and this is because I imagine if I was in this cast, I would be hanging out with Eddie because of metal and like
And
being
D&D.
like that would be my guy. And so I love that it expanded the characters of the 80s to include this guy who will reference Ozzy, and then Steve has no idea what he's talking about.
Yes, we have a
Yes.
finally we have a rocker.
Like perfect addition to this cast. But does the whole Stranger Thing
Oh,
as Game of Thrones thing work? I think on a storytelling level of keeping you entertained, super entertaining, still fast paced. Every single storyline is firing. Like there's nothing boring. But I agree with you, Karen, with the feeling that I have emotional investment in some things and I really don't care in others. I really don't care about Jonathan and like like this
you
And
can
he's
just
drama, and it's just getting high, and it's like, oh
college drama.
yeah, his college. What are we gonna do? Like, oh, I don't need that. And then him having that long sequence with Argyle, and the only resolution is that they're gonna smoke weed. It's like totally unnecessary to drive the plot forward, which makes it feel nga like it's adding things that we didn't essentially need when I want to see all of those other adventures and I want to spend time with other people than them. So at least for me personally, I understand that it's still entertaining, but parang Game of Thrones where you're watching, you're like, actually don't care about these characters. Hintayin ko, like, sige, like this is where I'll get my water or something. Ganon.
white noise. Going back to Eddie, since we
I
talked
love
about
Eddie.
him, yeah.
Joseph Quinn
Uh
is amazing.
I guess we should also mention yung ano in the show they tackled that ano ba to yung satanic cults, and then the influence of D&D to the
Satanic panic.
kids. Yeah, but
Yeah.
probably maybe some of our listeners are too young to remember, but this actually happened back in the 80s. It was really like a scare. Parang usong-uso sa kanila yung mga ganon, satanic cults. And then this was also the time that there were a lot of serial murders, mga killings in the US. So talagang there was so what happened in Hawkins, sort of happened also. And we were talking about this on the GC. Even Carl and Norby shared na medyo na experience din nila yun when they were young. So maybe the two of you would like to
Oo
jump
nga
in.
eh. At saka diba music was, yung mga rock or metal, rock and metal, like, they considered it satanic as well. So that ties in, right? Because Eddie's into both, like D&D and like rock. What do you guys
Yeah.
think?
Oh, I think the level of halimbawa yung bullying in the 80s towards towards the current times naging at least sa taas nag-heighten siya, and then so sobrang violent naging mellow through the 90s and through the 2000s as a apparent awareness na. Pero yeah, sa California na plotline, I understand na ganun yung bullying. And ganun din yung yung sa Hawkins din. Pero ang weird din naman nangyayari sa Hawkins where yung varsity captain nagiging cult leader bigla.
I'm telling you,
And
man, that's the seeds of QAnon right there.
yeah. So
No,
weird.
Cult
di ba
leader.
nag-ano pa siya, nag-Bible quote pa siya nung town
Exactly.
hall.
He did that. I was like, okay, this
Yeah.
Like the
guy is such a
varsity,
tool.
I was saying in our other GC, there are always these characters, even in yung mga books ni Stephen King, there are always these characters na who would
Oo,
quote
mga
from the
Bible
Bible.
thumpers, no?
They're
Yeah,
zealots.
pero
They're charismatic zealots.
yeah, diba?
I mean, that's how you get a cult anyway. You have to be you have to be engaging to recruit people.
And then you
I
have
don't
to- you
know.
have to
I don't
save
know
the
what this
children from these Illuminati pedophiles.
I don't know what the sheriff was thinking na magpa-town hall. That wasn't a good idea.
Parang nagpa-meeting kung pwede na lang by mail, charot.
How
Wala
was
kasing
that a
email pa
Hopper move?
dati.
I will share though, like so the satanic panic stuff was true. Like when I was in grade school, we were being warned not to play D&D. So we had our
Ay,
character
totoo.
sheets pero
Oo.
nakatago siya sa kaya parang throwback. Nakatago siya dun sa mga trapper keeper mo.
Wow,
Like from the
illegal paraphernalia.
illegal yun eh, yung character sheet mo. Tapos you were asking Karen about the music and that's
Yeah.
true. But it's so funny because people thought that like Bohemian Rhapsody was satanic because it has that Bismillah, no, ganyan ganyan na parang
Yeah.
so imagine
Beelzebub has
yeah,
thou put
exactly.
aside from me.
So people thought that these things were satanic and it's so funny because now it's like when you listen to modern
Celebrated.
metal, it's like nothing. It's nothing compared to what people thought was like. I mean, Ozzy sang Changes with Black Sabbath. Like there's all of these like sad ballads or like Crazy Train, which is this weirdly optimistic metal song. So it was more because of the way that they were perceived as outsiders, more so than the actual content itself. Which is again like I think why I like those characters. It's really easy to attach yourself to Eddie
Mm.
and the other bandmates na parang inopakan lang ng mga jocks. Super sad. But I think the show captures that pretty well. The whole
Mm.
dynamic and how it can be activated, especially in a place like Hawkins. Although I don't know about you guys, I just kept thinking about Fear Street, but that might just be me.
Ah, yeah, definitely there are like a lot of nods to it, right? Yung mga, and this is like my one of the first things that I would say about the season 4 is that they go full throttle horror talaga, as in I didn't think that the earlier seasons were scary, pero etong season 4 parang I had to detach myself na okay, don't look or don't think too much kasi baka hindi ka na makatulog. And my niece actually came and she was saying na nakakatakot nga. And I told her, nakakatakot talaga. Kasi, ayun nga, and you know, given that the Duffer Brothers probably got all of the budget that they asked for. So talagang up yung ano, you know, yung even like yung when the Vecna would,
I
you know,
was gonna say that. That's
diba?
so
That was like one of the
creepy.
scariest. Parang I could put it.
Yung sound pa eh.
I could put it sa ano. I mean, may place siya siguro in a ranking of like scariest things I've seen. And then yung mawawala yung mata.
Parang may possession na
Uh,
nagaganap. Plus, di ba, I think they're very blatant naman with referencing Nightmare on Elm
Yeah.
Street. And attacking in dreams or the subconscious.
Ito yung
Very night
nakakatakot is
very
they,
nightmare on Elm Street. But also
Yeah.
there's some Sam Raimi Evil Dead vibes thrown
Mm-mm.
in there.
Which was in the 80s as well, right? Wasn't it in the 80s or like early 90s?
Yeah.
Evil Dead, yeah. Ayun.
Anyone?
But my question is, are there, because I remember we forgot to mention Susie was also there. So like now I'm thinking, are there too many characters in this season?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it?
Yes.
So I was like, wait, who's Susie?
the girlfriend.
First episode.
Never ending
Susie-
story.
Susie
Yeah.
Pooh and Dusty Bun.
Yeah, and then
Sure,
I always like Erica.
Oh yeah, Erica.
We don't get
See?
enough of her because there's just too much going on. And that's the thing, right? Like there are these storylines. I mean, I think we were chatting about it, the inevitable Will coming out to Finn thing that like
That feels, yeah, you feel that's gonna be the outcome of all those awkward
it doesn't feel like
conversations.
there's anything else there except that.
Oh
Right?
nga eh, what else? Is this their like push for like more diversity? Because we already have Robin to represent. But you can never have enough, of course.
It's just, Will everything's like you've been spending so much time thinking about your girlfriend, but what about me?
I know. I feel bad for
What
him though.
about me?
Parang he was like the pivotal character in the first season, but now he's like relegated to the sidelines.
Hmm.
Diba? Parang
But that whole
taga-comment
California
lang
thing, right? That
talaga
whole
siya.
California
Yeah,
thing is relegated to the sidelines.
exactly. I'm like,
Everyone
Will.
nakasama dun.
I don't know. I feel like Will kasi could have the most to contribute because he's been there. He was one of the victims in the first season.
Honestly,
So,
Will should have the most fight.
sayang. Like, I wanted him to have that growth as well. Na parang fighter na siya. Or,
Let's
diba?
see,
Based on
baka,
his
baka.
experience. Let's see.
Baka.
Who knows? Kasi most of the action, din naman ako sa action, most of the family-friendly action came from Hawkins, like the older teens. Diba? Like
Yeah,
Steve.
they were off the board, but they didn't even know where everybody else was. Their only thing was to escape, and then
Yeah, they were like,
was it like
doo-doo-doo.
episode 5 sila
Yeah.
naka-escape or something?
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel like oh, I feel like some stories kasi could have been shorter. Like that it would have been concluded in like an earlier episode para lang maka-progress further. So I don't know if
Oh,
they're
yan
are
na,
they
dyan na
stretching
tayo.
it out.
Dyan na
Yeah,
tayo sa item 2.
Ah,
we're
di ba?
going
Ganda
to
na
number
segue
2
ko.
na.
Segue
Nice
ko,
one,
runtime.
Karen.
Yeah, so yeah, let's talk about the runtime. So I think yeah, because season 4 is like super, they really, the runtimes are like super long. Like the episode 7 is like an hour and 30 minutes. That's already like an entire movie. So yeah, what did you guys think? Did you think that it was too long?
Yes.
Carl? Norby?
Norby
Norby.
muna, si Norby. Maraming
Yeah.
reklamo si Norby dyan. Ayun din ako yung pangalawang pinakamaraming
I
reklamo.
wanna
Like,
hear from Norby.
like what I said from the beginning, if you have your own place, if you di ka mapipilit ng panoorin kagad to, yeah, mas maganda panoorin mo in three screens, in three viewings pala, rather than like one or two. Like I skip work the entire day to watch this. But yeah, di nga even yung yung runtime ng per episode, and even though at the last episode din sobrang haba din. Pero yeah, um on the next part, I guess there's only 2 episodes of it. Am I right? And
Yep,
Yeah.
only two
Yeah.
episodes for volume 2. Tapos
yeah,
the last episode is like 2 hours and 30 minutes pa.
yeah. So yeah, probably just enjoy it as a long, multiple ending episode. Yun, I guess, on the last hour.
And we still have a season 5, right? Like it's
Wala
really
na.
Yep, there's a season 5 pa.
What? I thought
Yes.
this is the end.
Meron
Oh,
pa,
ah.
meron
Kaya
pa.
nga eh.
What
What?
more? Now I'm so curious now.
Nakakabaliw naman yan.
Like all this no, all this setup, I really assumed it was gonna be the end of it. But anyway,
From
yeah,
the
but
90s season 5. Like,
Aabot na sa 90s.
we'll get to listen to Guns N' Roses on season 5
welcome to the jungle.
or
no?
Nirvana.
Ano ba to? 1986, di ba?
1986, yeah.
So lilipat sina Argyle and and the other guys, Jonathan
Nagtatrabaho
sa
na sila.
Seattle.
Sila sa Alaska, bro.
Ah, let's see what happens with with well, yeah, with season. Yun nga eh, it's so weird kasi parang feeling we talked about it baka like Vecna is the big baddie na talaga, but I don't know. It will
Kasi
depend.
may season 5 pa eh.
But I guess it will depend how season 4 ends, how it officially ends, diba? A lot can happen. It's just 2 episodes, but I'm sure a lot can happen, especially
A lot
the
can
last.
happen in that 4-hour runtime.
Oo, diba?
Tapos si
like,
Dustin, general lang si Vecna. Second in command or whatever.
Oh,
It
that's
is
a hint.
always
There's
right.
gonna be the big bad na talaga probably for season 5. Yun na yung finisher. But did it feel too long for you?
For
Is it because
context, for context, the runtime is 13 hours. It's around 13 hours for 7 episodes.
But does it feel long lang because we binged it?
No, kasi if you think about 7 hours, if you do 7 episodes, how many hours do you expect to spend on something? Less than 7, right? Because normally 45 to 50 minutes ang
yeah.
runtime.
Oh, yeah.
I really miss a 45-minute Stranger Things episode. Right? Norby saying, if I'm watching a 7-episode show, I'm expecting to spend 7 hours, not 13. So,
That's right. Sanay tayo sa 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Diba?
So the question, guys, why break format? It's not so much like, is it going long? Because one, props to the writer's room of this, because everything is tight. Like when it transitions from one thing to the next, that they use some really good whiteboards and they put their plot lines up and they were able to diagram everything to make sure that things were there and it flowed really quickly. But this is still, I mean, feature length film yung not even season ender, diba? It's half season ender. So
Yeah.
um I felt I felt like it was long. I think you guys would agree because you've been saying like there are things that we could
Yeah,
do
may
a
Yeah,
lot
there's
mga
better.
a lot of
the
padding, right?
the general consensus is yun nga, they could have trimmed here and there, there's like fat here and there and they could have trimmed that, ganyan ganyan. But then of course, yun nga, you'll still watch
Too
it, 'di
much
ba?
torture, man. Like there's way too much.
He sounded like Argyle for a minute.
You'll
Yeah.
still you'll
Too
still
much,
watch it.
man.
Yun nga lang,
Even the
magzo-zone out ka.
even
Magzo-zone
the
out ka.
dude, the surviving dude who was the protector in the California house. And we just kept cutting to him refusing
Oo
to
nga,
talk.
yeah.
Parang, we don't need that
Tapos bibigay
narrative.
rin pala siya.
Oh. And then ang tagal natin with him just watching him being tortured. I'm like, okay.
Talaga yung stretching for time, eh.
Mhm. Now let's go watch Hopper get tortured a little bit. Cool. And then let's go watch 11 get tortured. Okay, cool. And then let's go back to this guy being tortured.
I feel like it makes sense now that, like Hopper would have like these long drawn out monologues. Like for me that felt really shoehorned. Like, hey, hey faceless man, I'm gonna tell you about my life. And then I don't know, for me that felt
I'm the
kind of
cursed one.
awkward. Like I'm the cursed one. Like I know I should expect cheesiness, but that was really like, really we're going.
But I
I'm the
liked his
cursed.
wait, I took notes.
Everyone
I liked his line. Saan ba
Everyone
yun?
I
Shh, ch- ch-
touch
ch- ch-
hurts
ch-
me, blah blah blah.
I liked his line when he said yung sa about fathers.
Oh yeah, I like
I
that.
like that line. Wait, teka lang
Where
ah.
it
Ayun.
reminds, yeah.
He
Go ahead, say
says,
the line.
my notebook. He says, I think it must be hardwired into us to reject our fathers so we can grow and move on. Gusto ko yun. I
Tama.
like that.
That's so true. I agree.
So here's my feelings with what you're saying, Karen and Ika, with like
Yeah.
Hopper's speech. One, it works for us as viewers because we get the flashbacks and we know all of Hopper's backstory. And then he throws in a new backstory to his backstory with the wife and the
Yung
ganyan,
sa
right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Vietnam.
daughter
Yeah.
dying, yeah, and the Vietnam War, the whole recruitment thing. So we get all of that, and then we get the flashbacks. But if you're faceless man sitting there listening to the
Nag,
American
nag-zone,
giving his
nag-zone out ka na
monologue,
rin.
It's
diba,
like
he's like saying,
cool story, bro.
okay, and then he's like, I'm the cursed one, diba? Parang, okay,
I think they could have made it more organic. I think I have no problem with the content. It's just so awkward considering their current circumstances where
yeah,
they're
yeah.
just
That's
in
my point. It's
person
like
hanging out.
the logic might work for us as the viewer, but it doesn't work for him making that speech right there inside of the jail cell with Enzo or whatever his
With
Si
whatever
Enzo.
his actual name is.
I just suddenly remembered because I mentioned in our group chat that there are no kasi diba Stranger Things may mga they have novels already, so there's I read the prequel novel Suspicious Minds, and then there's a novel for Max and for Robin, but there's also a novel for Hopper when he was younger policeman, younger detective yata, and it's in a different city. So, yun lang, just wanted, although medyo advanced to for our next topic, but medyo maganda yung plot eh. I think I bookmarked it. Yeah, I'll try to look for the book. Pero, it's interesting. So, yun, baka yun na yung kanyang prequel novel. So, yeah. Pero yun nga, nagulat lang din ako dun sa Vietnam War. That was like an additional information. Because akala ko that the daughter died because of cancer lang or something na nagkasakit. Pero they had to make it in such a way na it will go back to Hopper na may guilt siya. Siguro yun parang torture the man more, why don't you?
It's not like he doesn't have a broken foot and he's been jailed and tortured in
Survivor
Russia for
guilt,
the last few
man.
months.
Oo nga. Siya yung pinakakawawa.
One of the.
Of the actually.
Anyways. Yeah. So any last thoughts about yung dun sa runtime? It's very it's had the internet split. Parang like some people like it, some people don't. So, but then I guess the ending kasi is we're still all gonna watch it.
Yeah, I guess
As
somewhere in the middle. Like, it's fine to be a bit longer. They should just do away with the padding. Because I think by this time we're just really invested in like what's gonna happen and all that. And having those really prolonged either yung mga driving sequences or like random stoner moments. I mean, they could be more impactful kasi if they're there for a short time. Pero like for me, like this, ito yung example ko, like the Steve and Nancy, where they just kept going on and saying, oh, they're meant to be together. Like everyone and their grandma had an opinion. Like they should get back together. And then like the flimsy excuse that, oh, they're going to different colleges. So it's totally okay for them, for Jonathan and Nancy to break up or whatever.
I
And
think ato medyo kabado lang ako.
oo,
Maybe they're setting it up because I don't know, because Steve is gonna die, Nancy's
someone's
gonna
gonna
die,
die, no?
someone's gonna die. Yun nga, I was saying in our chat na Stranger Things has this, I don't know, has its thing for killing off, well-loved characters. Pero the whole, I don't know, ito lang yung hula ko. The whole Steve and Nancy thing, someone is gonna die. Because
Yeah.
there have been comments, I read mga comments, people don't like the, yung quote-unquote kabit culture. So they're not happy with what's going on
Oo
with
nga, that's like emotional
yeah.
cheating. And also, I mean, objectively, ang awkward ng placement kasi niya. Like, I would understand maybe Robin bringing it up. But like, freaking Eddie, who they just met, it's like, hey, dude, you guys should get back together. Thanks, person I just met. Like, it rings like the same vibe as like the whole Hopper speech na, okay, we get what you're doing, but it doesn't make sense in the context of your scene. That everyone is just like, hey guys, you guys should get back together. You are perfect for each other. It was just so awkward. It just felt very shoehorned for me. Like I think just one character bringing it up would have made sense. And then okay, yeah.
Ang dami, no?
Oh,
Si
dami talaga lahat
Robin, si
Even
eh.
has to be
Dustin,
done. Like, I want Steve to go on.
Yeah, I
Like,
want him to have
perfectly
his
fine as a character. He should just keep moving forward. Instead, we're being dragged back into.
parang
Mm.
nag-regress tayo to season 1. And then, just to further drive that point, I mean, they even showed scenes of them hooking up from season 1. Like, yeah, this is our ship for this season. Also, can I just say, like, towards the end of the volume 1, I was gonna be pissed off if they didn't mention Barb. I was really like, as in, ang galing. Like, I didn't even think of that. I was like, alam mo, bakit hindi tina-target si Nancy? Eh, di ba nga may guilt siya over Barb? Tapos paulit-ulit ako, tapos nagagalit na ako. Tapos buti na lang, buti nakinig sila sa akin
You
towards
got
the
your
end.
wish.
Oo, galit na galit. I was gonna rant to you na nga eh. Kasi patapos na ako. Sabi ko, I can't believe they didn't mention Barb. Tapos biglang boom.
Justice for Barb.
Ang
Ayan.
galing. Yeah, I still have the candle, by the way. They gave away like candles, like BTCC, I think, for Stranger Things. And they have like a Justice for Barb candle. I still have it with
It's
me.
like, what?
I'm a Barb supporter. So yeah, I just
Oh
wanted to
my
throw that out there.
gosh.
Like, I'm glad. I mean, for all the padding and everything, I'm glad that they still remember important plot points from the first season, like Nancy's connection to Barb. So I appreciated that. So at least they did their homework in that sense. Yeah.
So ako, in terms of this like runtime and padding stuff, and I messaged you guys about this also, the biking, which I think it was a level of one, it was super cute in season 1, and then in later seasons it would border on self-parody because basically everyone expected it. But then when we get here, when it was withheld and it was only given to us in episode 7, it really felt like I'm finally watching what I watched Stranger Things for. Like this is
Or
the
biking
key
scenes.
thing, right? Like this is a key scene for me. Na them finally as a group biking and then parang doubled up pa biking in the
Ang ganda nun
upside
nung
down
upside
and
down.
padding.
That's a good
Yeah,
shot.
ang
That's
ganda
a
nung
great shot.
transition na yun, how they would like from the upside down to the
Yeah.
real world. Every time they did that, parang wow, ayun, budget, yeah.
But again, it was a reminder for me that everything that is not in the same spirit as this sequence feels like it's an additional thing.
they're really tying it back to season one, no? Like, I mean,
Oo,
from the
yeah.
house
Mm.
being in the same condition as when the portal first opened, right? And all those
Yun nga eh,
references.
parang it was stuck
2 years
in that,
ago.
on that
Oo.
day when Will disappeared. So I think
Yeah. A
they'll
lot of
go back to
season
that
one
part.
references. I guess it makes sense because it's been how many years since season one? So they're really just throwing it back.
Yeah, so I mean, again, like I guess before we jump on to the next thing is we appreciate those things about it, but also it it's sort of a much longer demand of us than what a show would normally ask.
I think, well, see, Carl mentioned about Netflix trying to hit those metrics with the minutes watch. So, well, there's a following. There are a lot of fans, and we're gonna watch it no matter how long it is, Unfortunately, or fortunately, however way you look at it. But for me, I enjoyed the binging kasi. So yeah, as I mentioned, so yun nga, it's an experience na, like, I saw someone, ang status niya was like, rainy day weekend watching Stranger Things. And then, parang happy, ganyan. And then there's another status, Stranger Things. And then, McDonald's delivery. And then, mga emoji ng food. So, yan, it's an experience na you're at home, you're cozy, and then there's food, ganyan, ganyan. So, let's just enjoy it, I guess. Although, we can't help but comment na, yun nga, they should have just cut this and cut that. Pero, yun, it's the binging is an experience. And if you compare it to, what Disney Plus, which we don't have in the Philippines does, na weekly release, or, HBO, that's what they would do also, weekly release. Yun naman, what I like about that experience is you look forward to it. 'Di ba? Parang like, oh, it's
If
Moon
it's
Knight
weekly, you
Day,
get to have.
ganyan.
If it's weekly, you get to have theories, and then you get to talk about
Yeah.
your theories with
Yun
people.
nga eh. The I also read an article na, compared to, binging or just a weekly release. Kapag weekly release, mas matagal yung niya, yung shelf life niya, of people talking about it on the internet, ganyan, ganyan. Yung relevance niya mas matagal. Instead of like something na what Netflix would do na isang labasan lang. Parang people talk about it this weekend, tapos the next weekend they would forget na. Ganun. But I don't think that's going to be the case for Stranger Things, because like it's one of their best franchises, probably the one that they're best known for. And I guess that would segue into our next
Yeah.
next part of our show outline, which is Stranger Things as like this reliable IP or franchise for Netflix. So what are your thoughts about that, Karen?
Yeah, they kind of did that though, by dividing it into two volumes. So now it's gonna prolong the shelf life. Maybe they took a page from that, but
There you go. Oo nga,
I
they
can
yeah.
have
still
your
ret-
cake and eating it too. Kasi,
yeah, they're
yeah,
still retaining that binge watch culture, which they have popularized as a platform. I mean, that's who they are. That's their identity, their brand identity. So
Mm-mm.
I don't blame them for sticking to it. And honestly, I'm the type of person who waits for all the episodes to come in and then I binge watch. Because if I watch it weekly, I'm gonna forget what happened
Mm-mm.
the previous week, and I'm just gonna be like, what, where are we?" Like that.
But I like
So
your input with yun nga,
yeah.
and what Carl said, have your cake and eat it too. So yun nga, I guess by splitting it
They
into two
made an
volumes,
attempt. This
yeah,
is them testing it probably.
by splitting it in two volumes, yun nga, napahaba nila yung shelf life. And they cut it in such a way na syempre, bitin yung mga tao, ganyan, ganyan. And they're like, oh, we have to wait 5 more weeks for the last two
This
episodes,
seems to be
ganyan.
a trend because I remember Ozark doing the same thing. There was like a
Ozark did
part
this.
one, part two.
Yeah, Ozark did the same thing, and I'm a fan of Ozark, but I haven't I haven't seen volume 2 yet. Parang I think when it came out kasi election. So I was in a depressed
Yeah.
mood. I guess.
Oh, speaking of Ozark, we have an Ozark actor there. Kevin Johnson. He was young Victor Creel.
Oh, sino siya sa Ozark?
He's Sam, the broker. Remember the Mama's Boy? Sam the Mama's Boy from the first season.
I can't remember.
This,
I need a
but
refresher.
yeah, I have to say it's great casting because he kind of looks like Robert Englund
Actually,
a bit,
great
right?
casting sa family, yung Creel
Oh,
family. Even the dad looks Ay, oh, I did that. Okay, I remember na
Okay,
the
diba?
dad. I was
Yeah,
thinking the
yeah.
son. Oh, the dad. Okay, sabi ko, he
Dad
looks
looks like
familiar.
him.
Siya yung ano, siya yung
Yeah, the broker with the mama.
with the
No,
mommy issues.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yung
mommy
yung
issues.
na ano, na addict sa gambling.
Yes,
Ah,
exactly.
okay, alam ko na, alam ko na.
Ayun. So, it's so interesting. They have so much budget to hugot from other popular shows.
And I'm sure everybody's looking for work. So, the way I think about it and thinking about how, Stranger Things, inevitably, no matter what they do, they're going to pull in the minutes. But, um, I guess being an armchair TV historian, and I saw, like shows like 24 and Lost, that just you watch them and they literally have to hit that 24 episode marker for a season, and that means that you would get filler. Like I want to imagine Lost in this modern era of TV, where imagine if a Lost season was only 12 episodes and how tight that could be. And so, and also, like, for example, The Good Place, where one of the conditions of The Good Place, when they were making it, was to only have those short season runs so that they could tell the story in a very tight, compact manner. And in the same way of like having your cake and eating it too. Okay, sige, 7 episodes lang naman ito. But it's seven like incredibly long episodes. It's
Seven
like,
movies.
yeah, right? Like it's seven, like an hour 15 is a feature animated film, right? Like
Yeah, that can
it's
be a film already. Yeah.
yeah, so each one of them is that long. And if you're and so as a result, the thing that we quote are sort of not happy with is all of that filler, because it doesn't feel as tight as like a great horror movie where you can jump back and forth from the kids who are trying to solve, and then parating na again, like if you go back to season 1, where you didn't have this character and narrative sprawl, where you're just jumping between, the demogorgons coming after them and they're trying to do their own little quest, but in a geographically they were all very close, and then you get to the school and they're just fighting things off. So the cut to cut between scenes felt very immediate, and you weren't going to literally other places in the world to have that. And I think that's my concern with that, the sort of serving the machine of the Netflix content algorithms, of being of knowing that if you put out the Stranger Things thing, weirdos like us are gonna binge it in one weekend, and then we're gonna talk about it, and then other people are gonna binge it, and it's gonna be this many minutes, which is gonna be really good for Netflix. But was it really that good for this story? Um, Maybe. Again, I don't want to take away from other people's enjoyment, but I always like a tight 45 minute 50 kind of thing. And then you give me a little more, you bring me to an hour and I'm fine. But when I see like the final episode was what, like hour and a half, hour 40.
Yeah.
Wow. Bakit hindi na lang 2 episodes yan? But hindi siya episode 7 and 8, di ba? Like, why not just be honest and like give me more episodes? Why say it's 9 episodes that are like 2 hours long?
For me, I think, okay, since I'm watching at home, I don't mind that it's long. Kasi I'm at home eh. Ang complain ko is like if it's a movie, so I'm like outside, and then yun nga, I have to be here, I have to get home na. So
3 hours
parang,
ganon.
diba? So parang yun yung, I guess, I don't know, pros and cons, however you wanna look at it. Pero, yun nga, I guess that's for me. That's like a personal ano lang naman. So, yun nga. I think it's just going back to the binging culture. That's why we all got fat recently because
Yun lang yung
wala lang,
parang with
naisip
the
ko lang, yeah.
storytelling. Kasi it's like, let's add some more characters. Let's add all of this. And it's just, parang as a horror thing kasi, nawawala talaga sa akin yung horror movie feel when I
Mm-mm.
get brought to a different setting. Like there's nothing horror movie about the California setting.
Yeah,
Except maybe the Carrie vibes that they were trying to do in like episode 1, episode 2.
Mm-mm.
But beyond that, and then like the entire 11 thing, it was just uh like we knew it, except for the reveal and stuff. So it did feel like a lot of padding that was serving a different purpose than the story of the characters that we're dealing with. I really wish that I had more of a ticking clock with Max, because it's so
Yeah.
powerful when Max goes like, "I'm cursed. I'm next." Diba?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is the
yeah.
day, and
Basta,
Oh,
then
that
yeah,
was the best. That was the best
yeah.
episode.
Dear
Dear Billy.
Billy.
Yeah,
but
episode
that's what
4 was
episode
like,
4.
yes,
Yeah.
episode 4. That was the
All
best.
Like
of it
5
went
hours
down.
later, she's still alive. So I
Oh.
mean,
Yeah, but I guess for me it's somewhere in the middle. I don't mind it a bit longer, like I was mentioning a while ago. But yeah, it could do with more tightening up in terms of the pacing. But I understand that it's really embracing the binge watching culture that it popularized. So uh, I have to say, like, I would probably give it more allowance because it's Stranger Things, and as we're mentioning, it's a
yeah, I
money making
agree.
IP,
I
and
forgive it
it's
because of that.
yeah, because it's one of the original
Bias.
shows. Because like I didn't even really check the Netflix originals until Stranger Things. That's really what made me start binging on Netflix. So I feel a lot of people feel the same way because that's the one that got really popular
Yeah.
That's
That's
globally.
their
I
that's
baby.
think
Yeah.
yeah.
I think because it's nostalgic, it's very relatable regardless of your age range. I know
There's a
people
magic
who
to it, eh.
oo
Diba?
nga
There's a
eh,
magic to it.
tsaka iba talaga yung sakto talaga yung setting niya na wala masyadong monitoring from the parents because you cannot pull off this kind of plot
Child
with
endangerment.
with the current situation now with social media, all eyes on you, mariteses and all that. Pero before kaya yun kasi nga as you've seen with the parents of the Wheelers, as in wala silang pake, and that's really what that was kind of the culture before. And
Singit lang ako ng awful
oo.
sheriffs. Yung parang awful officers who were interrogating them.
Oo. Yun mga incompetent na
Yeah.
officers, yun yung things
Very 80s.
that very well, I have to say it's still very current, but yeah, the latchkey kids, right? The ones who get left at home and
Exactly.
just take
Yeah.
care of themselves, and then yung mga babysitters who are basically like a few years older lang, and then you
Mhm.
get to go out at night, and parents don't know where you are.
Yeah. Uuwi ka na lang pag gutom ka na,
No,
ganun.
they don't know where you are. They're just chilling. It's not like if you did this now, there are trackers for kids on their phone, so they won't
May
have
Amber
to
Alert
be.
agad.
Oo, wala yung parang dito kasi sobrang the cluelessness of the parents might be so unfamiliar to the kids or like the teens watching. For dati, diba? Like it made sense. Wala, you can get up to all sorts of shenanigans. So I think there's that, no? It's the population of
Yeah.
people who miss the 80s, miss that kind of freedom in the
So
story time.
it's the population that nostalgizes it, and then the population
Exactly.
that didn't get to live through it, but then can romanticize it,
Oo
because
nga
this
eh.
is it's the 80s setting, which is super cool, but it's modern storytelling.
Tsaka resurgence talaga of the
Yeah.
80s culture when Stranger Things hit the platform.
Yeah,
It was a
oo.
perfect
Really,
like cultural moment.
they
Mm.
really popularized it again, diba? And then, yun lang, very, very interesting impact. I think I was asking you guys via GC, what were the other shows you think would reach the level, like either predecessor or successor of Stranger Things? What do you think are the shows
So
on
I'm sure
Netflix?
Squid Game, right? Squid Game is something that's
Ah,
really,
yeah, kasi cultural phenomenon eh.
yeah,
Iba
It's
yung impact eh.
global. And
yeah.
ano rin, recognized by award-giving bodies, di ba?
You think
And
that's
then, uh,
In
yun na yung
Hollywood.
same level?
and then for me,
Anything else?
Narcos as just like a game
Potential.
changer. Because it's to me like the opportunity for Netflix to change TV and change the way that we watch things. And I really felt that watching Narcos, because it just felt totally different from
I
other
like
shows.
the Narcos with
Lego, ano?
the first one with
Oh, yeah. The
ano
Escobar,
ba 'to?
the
Yeah,
Colombian
the
storyline.
Escobar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the one that came yung Mexico yata. I didn't like it so much. Siguro kasi ang sad nung ending. The one with the
Is it a
sino 'to?
prequel or parang spin-off siya?
It's sort of
Different.
coterminous.
Ah,
Like
parang
they
in
overlap.
parallel.
They
They
Oo.
overlap.
overlap. Yeah.
But the first Narcos definitely, like opening song pa lang,
Mm.
'di ba? Winner na. Definitely that one. And then yun nga, I'm just going back to it. Kasi nga lang yung mga sumunod hindi na. The Narcos Mexico not so much. Probably because the ending was so sad. Because the character of si ano to, the one in Ant-Man, siya yun, 'di ba?
Di pa tapos yun.
They Di ba ba?
Oo.
Hindi ko na
Season
siya
1
na
lang
ano
yun.
eh.
And then
Ah,
season 2
okay.
is the escalation of the drug war.
Hindi ko na siya I didn't follow
Yeah.
it na,
And
pero
yeah,
ayun.
it's
Um,
really it's pretty good. Like
okay.
I know that people
Should I
like
give
the
it a
Escobar
chance?
one.
Sure.
People like the
I've
Escobar one more,
Yeah,
definitely.
yung Escobar. Mm-mm.
Uh,
I've never seen it. I've just seen the memes with Escobar sitting down.
yeah, with his sweater, amazing sweater,
Yeah.
the historically accurate, amazing sweater.
I guess that makes sense, pero for me, I feel like it doesn't reach Stranger Things level just because, I mean, although it's for older audiences, may pagka-family friendly yung vibe kasi nga there are kid actors. So I want to see something like that from Netflix again. And I'm wondering what kind of franchise
They're probably
that,
feeling the
yeah.
pressure now to find
Oo.
the next
The next
Stranger
one.
Things.
Iba eh,
Yeah.
kasi mga
Mm-mm.
kids yan eh.
Spiritually, the thing that felt close was Adam Project,
Ah,
Mm.
yeah.
right?
Possibly the
Felt
Adam
like
Project.
it had the same
Yes.
spirit, but it did.
Ah.
But
Kaya
also
lang it's a
it's a
movie eh.
film, and
Oo.
it's diba? I think we've talked about it where it felt like Goonies, diba? Parang a lot of
Maybe I'm looking at
Last
if
Starfighter actually.
if they get like additional material for it. But as I was saying also in the GC, the Gray Man also has potential. Just because it's based on a
Is
series
that
of
gonna be a
books.
series or is it gonna be a
It's
film?
a movie. It's
Okay.
a movie, but with the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
And you have Chris Evans, Ryan Gosling, Ana de Armas. So like super
Yeah,
big cast. And
it's stacked. That's Netflix can afford that naman.
I'm guess may potential yung The Gray Man just because it's based on a series of books. I'm currently reading book 1. Pero yun nga, let's see. Kasi like, diba there was Extraction and then there's going to be a sequel to that. Parang, ano lang eh, I'm worried lang kasi yun nga, yung with these stories like Extraction that you're writing it as it goes. Parang mas may danger kasi dun eh. But let's see, let's see.
Well, I think kasi so movies like Extraction, those will transfer across borders. Basically, when you deal with horror and
Yes, yes.
action, they transfer across borders more easily than other genre film. So I guess that's one way to look at it. Like that's why these things will catapult much more easily as long as they invest in like really good action sequences. Kasi 'di ba, the funny thing naman with us Pinoys is like if you ever rode a bus on EDSA in the last 15 years, you've been exposed to like Vietnamese and Thai action movies because like, because we are into that kind of thing. Like I'm super into like Southeast Asian action film, and it's so funny that I've been exposed to so much of it on like EDSA buses.
Buses.
Yeah. So the idea of and that's why you have a lot of international horror that sort of breaks through and gets into our top 10. I forget the title, but Netflix was trying to feed me a top 10 film in the Philippines, and it just had like an Indian dude running, and then like he was being chased by a dog, and then suddenly there was like a lion or something. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, see, these are the kinds of movies that break into our top 10 because it doesn't require that much investment, which is why I think Stranger Things is interesting, is because ang dami nating emotional investment sa kanila. And I think it's
Yes.
because it's coming of age.
Mm-mm.
And we could always relate to the different aspects of the
Yes.
coming of age and the earlier stuff, which
Correct.
is why this is an issue. Kasi yung coming of age stuff, which is good, which is you growing apart from your friends because you're just getting older, like the Lucas storyline. I think
Yeah,
very
Mm.
real
that
yun,
was so real.
right?
Very real,
Right?
yeah. Mm-mm.
And if you watch another very good Netflix show, yung On My Block, one of their season storylines is one of the barkada becomes a jock and doesn't want to be like one of them anymore because he wants to be popular. He's
Iba
like,
talaga
"Ah, not
when
cool."
you cross over that threshold to popularity, I feel like it's gonna cause a rift in your current dynamic. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I like seeing that growth trend with all the characters.
but we got so little of it. The
Yeah, we
Lucas and
wanted
Max
more.
should have been, diba, we could have had more of that. And then Max kind of, obviously, the magical moment of Max sort of going to therapy on herself and wanting to finally open up to her friends, and that opens that thing. That again, that's what we watch Stranger Things for.
I
So
wanted more of that. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what. And honestly, we got a lot of it, but the reason why it doesn't feel like we got a lot of it is because we got a lot of so
A
much.
lot of other stuff.
Like it was in the middle of everything going on. So that's why sometimes it felt dizzying with all the information being served like a buffet to me,
Yeah,
like a mukbang
What I
of
wanted to
plot
say
points.
was, well, what I like about how this thing, because I guess we're already coming to the end, with season 5. I mean, they've already
we
planned it
could
out.
keep going just so that we can match the runtime.
No,
Gawin nating
no,
longest yet.
not like the podcast recording. What I mean was like the show in general. Kasi parang I like it more when a story has a definite end. Instead of like what Filipino soap operas would do na tuloy 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 tuloy
Yung
tuloy
biglang
lang.
buhay yung bida.
It doesn't end, 'di ba? And I guess with Stranger Things, meron talaga siyang limit, especially with the kids, growing up. So, yun lang, I just have to give props to, the Duffer brothers na may direction yung story, and then they
They
already
know when
have,
to end,
yeah,
no?
they know when to
They're
end.
not
Yun
gonna
nga eh,
force it.
good things, I mean, it has
although
to
although
end,
your
'di ba?
reactions to the existence of season 5 may beg to
May
differ.
halong ano eh.
No, I was surprised. I really thought this was the end.
No, I guess
I
the
thought so, and
reaction,
then when I checked IMDb to look at the cast, like, wait, what?
But
Okay,
wait, there's more.
yeah.
I think the reaction is because how season 4 is set up is parang feeling natin ending na.
Yeah,
So
how are they
I
gonna
think
top
that
that?
yun nga eh. So
I don't
parang
know.
I guess that's where the questions come in na parang, oh, what's gonna happen in season 5, 'di ba? But we'll
But
see.
also, how long is it gonna take us to get to season 5?
Yeah.
Because I hope that they're already shooting and everything. Because
Yun nga eh.
The kids are growing up too fast.
yeah,
But yeah, but
Oo.
before we talk about season 5, what are your expectations for part 2, volume 2 of season 4?
Well, nagulat ako kanina ko lang nalaman na there are only like 2 episodes
only
left.
2 episodes. Yeah,
So I think this is more of like ano na, major action na to. This is like, 'cause
Wala,
they're all setting it up eh. For the Nevada plotline, which is like 11 in that bunker or whatever. So she has her powers back, and si bad guy General Wallace, he knows already that she's there. So most likely he will go there, and then there's going to be some sort of conflict, fight scene, whatever there. So, and then siguro, 11 will reveal her that her powers are back, blah 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 blah. So that's most likely happening.
How about Utah? What happens? What happens to the guys
I
in
don't know.
Utah?
I don't know eh. I don't know. Hindi ko alam.
Diyan na lang kayo, guys. Mag-radyo na lang kayo.
Diyan na lang kayo. Do you copy? Char. And then siguro, and then of course we have what I'm really nervous about, Nancy and Steven, still in the upside down, and Nancy in the middle of, being attacked by Vecna. So, yun yung pinaka-worry ko, because as I said, my hula, I'm guessing is one of them is gonna die. So, which I am nervous about. Between the two of them, siguro si Nancy na lang, because I like Steve more. Yun, that's what I'm
The hair
worried
must
about there.
continue.
Yun lang. And then they're all in different places, but then the upside down could be upward, a way for them to be together. So like the people in 11, and then we have the people in Hawkins, and then maybe in Russia. Baka may portal doon or something, I don't know. Pero ayun, they have to come together, and that all happening within 2 episodes. Let's see how they're gonna pull that off. Although the last episode is practically an MCU movie with a runtime of 2 hours and 30 minutes. So that's me. What do you guys think?
Carl, what do you think?
Carl is shaking his head.
Just nodding my head, thinking that the last episode is as long as Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Diba? I wonder if it's gonna be available to see on the big screen. No? Anyways, that would be cool.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned pala, Ika, about Nancy, because I was talking to you guys, right? I did like a round table with them for Cosmo. And then it's so interesting. I think it was Joe Keery. He mentioned that Nancy has a significant action scene that he can't reveal yet. So I'm assuming it's gonna be in volume 2. That's why they couldn't mention it. And I have a feeling she'll probably survive. So that leaves Steve maybe. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? But I'm really expecting major character deaths. We've always had one in some sort of capacity. Like they're not the major characters. I mean, you had Bob, and then you had you had supposedly Hopper, but then uh he resurrected in
Billy.
Russia. Billy, yeah, of course, Billy and the Starcourt battle. So, and since this is the bigger, longer, uncut version, season 4, I'm expecting more major character deaths. And since they're setting up the whole yin and yang of 11 and 1 as being, two sides of the same coin, having the same abilities, that same power level, they're gonna have like some major psychic tug of war going on. Maybe some of the people from Team Nevada are gonna die. Maybe Papa. I have a feeling Papa's gonna die at some
Okay
point.
lang, let him die na.
No,
Didn't he already? And then he kind of just came back.
Oo
yeah.
nga eh,
Got
that's what I thought.
Or maybe
Ah,
what do you
I
think?
have to say pala na the whole
Yeah.
yung 11 and 1 thing, and then 1 saying to 11, come, join me. Parang it was very Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. And then they were both like that pa, with
Cause he
their
Force push,
recognized
yeah.
the
yeah,
same
force push.
the
Yeah.
same ability. He was like, okay, I need this person to take over the world. Although it was kind of funny for me in the same way that I found the third movie of Star Wars funny when Anakin melted in the lava. That's how I felt watching one being zapped into smithereens
Ah,
in the upside down. Like
pwede,
the
pwede.
CG got really wonky for me. Did you notice?
Naubusan ng budget bigla.
It became just this really wonky video game CG. I was like, yeah, okay, I guess this is okay, let's just let it be. then,
Naubos yung budget.
and then ano yun, parang biglang nagka-cosmetic surgery. Tapos, siya na si Vecna. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yung him bouncing around in the upside
yeah,
down, being electrocuted a bunch of
yeah, it
times.
was kind of funny for me.
Like, why is this? Well,
What is
what am
going
I looking at?
how am I supposed to react to this? Am I supposed to be scared? Is it supposed to freak me out? Like, I don't know.
For me, my reaction was, Hindi parang, okay, that's why he ends up looking like that. Parang gano'n. Tapos yung pinaka last pa was like the camera pans to his arm na may tattoo na one. Parang ang reaction ko doon, alam ko na, thank you.
And
Oo.
revealed with the-
Thanks for the info, but a bit
Dun,
too
dun,
late.
dun.
Siguro para sa mga hindi, hindi nag-gets.
Hindi na gets.
In case you
so-
didn't,
so- So, question, I guess, as we close this out.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be like, subjective answers, but whenever someone bothers to explain to me why a monster was created, where this came from, what the whole reasoning is, I just don't like it.
Yeah, it ruins the mystery.
I want them to just be fucking evil, or I just want it to be horrible or
Yeah,
something.
why do you need a backstory,
Diba?
dude? Like,
Except-
not everyone has to be complex.
Except for Fear Street. Yung,
I haven't seen it. Why?
yung episode 3 goes like, so it's just as a little reason for you to watch it.
Okay.
Episode 1 is a classic 80s slasher. And then episode 2 is a classic 70s slasher.
I saw the first two.
Oh.
Yung last one, di ko pa
And then
Is it
pinapanood.
different decades?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And then with Sadie Sink in episode 2.
Yes.
And then episode 3 is the main character from episode 1 inhabits the consciousness of a person who will be murdered as who will
Whoa.
be hung as
Hanged? Yeah.
a witch.
Hung.
She will be accused of being a witch because she's like a lesbian, and she is found making out to somebody ganyan. And so that's like the crux of episode 3 is connecting what happened in the past with like the unfair treatment of women in the time period to the present horrors. And the revelations therein. And to me, that's like, okay, this is one of the few things that I'm happy that they explain it. But like I'm also on board for like don't explain it to me kasi like Psycho ni Hitchcock, if you cut off the last 5 minutes where they bring in a psychologist or something explaining the whole thing. No, if you remove that, this is a much more effective
Yeah,
film.
I just like seeing, just that the outfit and like the rocking chair with the
Right?
skeleton.
Right?
That's fine with me.
And
I
then,
think
and
that's
then
a good
tapos ka na.
ending.
And then no, let's bring in someone to explain. And then this one, that's why I don't like it because it's so tidy. Let's bring in this guy, and then you're right, Karen. Like I didn't realize it, but now that you mentioned it, it's hilarious that he gets thrown into the upside down, gets electrocuted a bunch of times, and then becomes a super villain.
Yeah, becomes like a tree
Um,
person.
I guess we should,
Uh,
Becomes Groot.
uh,
we should inject, because we got a couple of questions
yeah.
to
Oh
take a
yeah,
crack
yeah.
at. Yeah,
Yeah, but
so
no.
Okay.
So answer the question though. Do you guys like it when when your baddies are explained,
It
or do you like
depends. Yeah,
the
for
it
me, cause
depends.
yeah, go ahead, Ika.
No,
I'll
I guess it depends. Because we get a lot of that in anime, diba? Like
Mm,
they have to go through their whole speech and all, and my backstory, ganyan ganyan. So it depends on how it's portrayed.
Yeah, it depends on the
Yeah.
story. If it necessitates that backstory, or if it could just be left, to the viewer's imagination. You make up your own theories. But sometimes evil is just evil. It doesn't need rhyme or reason to wreak havoc upon humanity,
as
right? I
we
say
well
as
know.
yeah, as we all know, I say as a horror fan, but not a fan of real life horror that's
Yeah,
happening in our country. Yeah, but yeah, I guess baka there's a bit of over explaining that's been happening, and I
here,
guess that
yeah.
does attribute to the lengthiness of the episodes. Like you have more time and you have more dialogue to fill up, more scenes to shove there. So what I'm hoping for, what I want to see in volume 2, maybe because there are 2 episodes, hopefully it's gonna be tighter, because they just have those two to wrap up everything, all the loose threads that they set up, anything lingering from maybe the previous seasons. Maybe we'll finally have the closure for Barb that we need, that
keep,
I need.
keep praying, ganyan. Keep praying. Wait,
Yeah.
so ako, just to bring that back,
Mm-hmm.
when they brought in when they were able to interview Victor Creel, that
Yeah.
was so good, and Victor Creel telling them more of the story, but explaining nothing.
Yes,
It
yun. Yeah, that
just
made
got
sense.
scarier.
That
It
was
just
great.
got scarier when he's like, "Oh, these are the things that happened, and I saw this and ganyan." And then you had the flashback, and it got scarier. But then
Yeah.
when they showed like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
here's one killing the rabbit. I'm like, oh god,
No, sana they didn't, no, because I love that. And then he went catatonic after that. Although I love the little visual clue that, hey, this is the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger guy, because he was scratching the table.
yes.
In the same way that Freddy Krueger would scratch like the surfaces just to announce his arrival and freak out his victims. So it's a brief role, but he did great in it.
It's
I
amazing.
think the young Victor Creel, aka Sam from Ozark, did well in that. I really like that whole but that was like 1950s
Mhm,
backstory. I think
mhm.
that would have sufficed.
No, so my problem was I was trying to
Yeah.
do the math. Like, okay, kung
Kaya nga, I didn't
abot
think
na
it was
doon,
him eh.
and then
Yeah.
11 is this old in this year, then does that check out? And it totally pulled me out of
Yeah, isn't he too old
Naisip
to
ka.
be?
Isip.
Parang, medyo nalito ako dun. Also, why were they keeping him around?
Yun nga, I talked to Karen about this. Yun nga, why would the Dr. Brenner keep
Yeah,
one
I
around,
mean, if
diba?
you wanna keep him around just to keep an eye on him, why don't you just trap him somewhere?
why turn him
Eh,
into why turn him into an assistant? Halika rito.
Orderly.
Magtrabaho ka na.
Ginawang
Total,
utusan.
nandito ka na.
Magwalis ka, mag-mop ka. But
That
yun
is
nga, I think
so strange.
the chip
Yeah.
in his neck was was the one that
For compliance, no?
was keeping his powers in
Yeah.
check. So yun nga, and
Yeah,
then
no, I mean that's the thing naman, right? But like,
Oo. Nakakatawa lang kasi yung parang ginawa siyang
yeah,
utusan.
orderly daw siya. But obviously this orderly is no ordinary orderly kasi mukha pa lang niya, 'di ba? It's
Oo.
what's his face?
Isa
Jamie
siyang
Bauer.
disorderly.
Hindi siya
I
mukhang
thought he was gonna be
orderly.
a figment of
Akala ko rin,
Akala ko
imagination
rin
lang siya.
Akala ko
Yeah,
rin
yeah.
faker siya.
Akala ko rin. Anyways, going to our questions.
There we go. So yeah.
Okay, so let's take a crack at this. So we have a couple of questions. So, okay, from our listeners. So, okay, may upside down na ba before or nag-start lang nung mismong event na yon? So, I'm guessing the event is when Eleven sends the Henry Creel into the upside down. So, what do you think? Has the upside down always been there?
Hasn't it always existed?
Yeah, I think it's a parallel universe that exists. So if this applies with like Lovecraftian, 'di ba? Parang in the early seasons naman may very Lovecraftian vibes ang
Mm-mm.
Stranger Things. So if that's the case, then may elder gods and may cosmic horrors.
Yeah,
and things like that.
it's just that we disrupted it by opening that portal, right? To a new
Yeah.
environment and sending in those creatures. So it's always been there. It wasn't created by one. I don't think so.
Yeah, no,
But
because
where does one's power come from?
yun,
Hindi
diba?
pa eh.
Parang that's what's not explained.
Mm-mm.
Like he just suddenly has power.
Yeah, how come he has abilities that 11 doesn't have yet? You know, like the whole invading someone's
Okay.
mind and the
Okay, so going back to yung, 'cause I read the book, 'di ba?
Mm-mm.
Yung Suspicious Minds. They would what they would do is they would inject mga drugs dun sa mga test subjects nila. And then one of the test subjects was 11's mom. And then I don't know, biglang they put in this character si Juan, and then supposedly si Dr. Brenner, he gets the idea of like super powered individuals from him, but then he can't control one, so he just makes others
Yeah.
like
he
him.
made it. Artificially
Not-
made sila, right?
No,
Or
but-
Not made
one-
pala, not made. But
they
yun nga,
born that way. Born that way.
Sina 11.
So-
I mean, we're basing this on the book ha, and from the sina 11, they're born with those abilities. Kasi yung mom niya ineksperimentohan with drugs and stuff. Kaya, that's why they took Jane from her mom. So, but then yun nga how did Dr. Brenner formulate this drug from the abilities of one? I don't know. Yun lang yung ko.
Yeah.
I'm missing something there.
So if we are to take this idea that Dr. Brenner explains to one, to 11 her powers, right? And it's because there's something in her mind that allows her to do this, and so she just needs to rewire her mind. So it's like a mind-based thing. So if that's the assumption, it means like there's something that's different in the minds of 1 through 11 that allow them to have powers beyond what a
Yung
normal
mga
person
access
is.
to 100% use of your
Yeah,
brain.
most
Yeah,
probably.
but the question is why does one have it?
Yeah.
That might go back to the house as a focal point for that.
As an
diba?
eldritch
because
abomination.
because he starts seeing, diba? Yun yung
Yeah.
thing is he starts seeing things in that house when they go
Maybe.
there,
Oo
because he doesn't
eh.
have supposedly he doesn't have powers before. He only begins to unlock those things that he sees, and then like the evil whatever beliefs that he begins to have and wanting to kill his family, he only starts having that in the house. So there's still like a physical space
Oo nga eh.
element to it.
May paranormal factor pa eh.
Mhm.
Like
Maybe,
I always thought
Which
it
is-
was
which is
so
mind
sci-fi
flayer,
based.
diba?
Yeah.
Which is I
The
think
mind-
the mind player will eventually come back into play.
Oo nga. Kasi if
Maybe.
there's another season, that means,
Yeah.
yun nga, this is just the conclusion for one. Kasi I think people, I guess, I was always wondering who the first one was. So, also, I have a question. Do you remember? I think in season 2 there was like this sort of X-Men sort of group, and they were like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
rebels.
Yung mga
Yeah,
How do
oo.
how
Si
do
8.
B7.
Si 8.
yeah, how do they tie into the 11 training thing? Were they there in the
Si
rainbow
8,
room?
I think that's just 8 na tumakas. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
but how come they have powers? Ito na naman ako sa so many
It's
questions.
just 8, 'di ba?
Bakit
It's just
ba?
that
Is it just
that
one? Kasi di ba
it's just
parang we
8.
had sisters and brothers that
Yeah.
were in
Yeah.
the world
I
cup.
mean, it's just number 8.
Siya lang ba?
Siya lang dun sa
Okay.
group.
So wasn't she there sa
Uh,
rainbow room when it
she,
all went down?
she was there when yung mom ni Eleven tried to get her when she was older. Siya yung
Ah,
kalaro ni
ni Jane.
11. Yeah, ni Jane. Dun sa flashback na yun. But in the book, nandun na siya, si number 8. Parang siya yung the mom befriends number 8. Yeah, but I don't remember parang siya nakatakas. Pero yeah, nakatakas siya,
So
obviously.
wala siya dun sa when all the drama went down.
O, wala siya nun nung
Wala siya sa
na-massacre.
lineup. Wala
Oo.
siya sa lineup
Wala dun siya
also.
sa slaughterhouse.
Reminds me of Star Wars with the Padawans.
Order.
Yeah.
No,
Okay. We have
execute
another
order.
question. Ito pala. How did Dustin know that areas where Vecna killed his victims create a portal to the Upside Down? Ito, yeah. With Dustin, know it all.
That just connects to my theory that Dustin
Doesn't.
has access to the script.
Yeah, Dustin is the script
Dustin is
writer.
meta.
I think it's
All of this is in Dustin's mind.
yung compass niya, no? Maybe
Yeah.
I think that was like the clue, and then
Yeah,
Indicator.
what he was saying that there were like a lot of weird energies, and so each
yes.
gate would emanate a different energy. So he just
But
assumed that.
I already thought of that when nung pinan nila yung camera, and then there was like yung sa ceiling may
May portal.
I mean there was like the crack, and then
Yeah.
the familiar black, of the Upside Down.
Or you have to do those sacrifices to open it up. Pero he kills them to gain powers ba? To gain more
Oo,
energy?
yun din, yes. Oo.
More protein in his diet. Like,
But also, he kills fish unless those fish are just being killed by random.
Baka yung
yeah.
mga tentacles lang.
Oh, ito yung mga sabi naman natin, wag i-explain, di ba? Sabi nila,
Tapos naghahanap tayo ng
ayaw
explanation.
nyo palang i-explain, ayan. With the tentacles.
But I guess that's it. We've covered all of that's in our outline. So any last thoughts before we wrap up? Yeah, we wrap up.
For all my complaints, I really love it. Like I can absolutely like dislike certain things and then still absolutely love something. So I absolutely love the experience of watching it all.
Kieran?
Yes, so I'm gonna miss Stranger Things when it ends. While we were saying that it's great that they know when to let go, I'm gonna miss the nostalgic Goonies-esque um escapades and shenanigans that they bring. Like there's whimsy to it that I hope to see in another series because most of the popular shows right now are very adult oriented, and I just want to see that kid perspective again. Iba kasi yung adventure from a kid's perspective. Like it's so much grander. I mean, given that this is actually some like real like a real adventure, like real problems, like real horror. I like that it's through the lens of a kid from the 80s with all that freedom. I'm hoping to see more I'm hoping to see more of the interactions and relationships and friendships of the cast because that's really what worked for me. Like the chemistry, like I feel like they really liked each other on screen and off set. Like they really hung out talaga. Even when you interview them, they're really like broing around. Like I just wanna add that Joe Keery is such a fan of Eddie Monson. Like like every like press con, like every interview he saw is like my favorite character is Eddie. So I love that there's that mutual appreciation. I'm hoping to see more action again from the ladies. I was happy that they had their share of action, Robin and Nancy Reagan with action. And I'm also happy seeing Joyce being proactive. You always see these movie moms just being all damsels in distress, or like being clueless, or just basically useless. So finally we see a mama bear mode where Joyce is just doing whatever the F she can to like save the person she cares about. And I hope to see more of that in volume 2. And yeah, that's why I appreciate the growth of this series, and for all its little mga minor flaws. I mean, you can't avoid that naman with any kind of franchise, especially this one that's been going on since what, 2016, 2015. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also a bit sad. There's some melancholy going on for the show ending. But yeah, there you go. So I liked it. I still like it, and yeah, I'm gonna miss that magic when they finally end.
Oh.
I think, Karen, to add on to that, I would want to see all of these spin-offs that I'm imagining in my head. My head
All
canon of
the adventures.
of Robin and Nancy adventures, and of Argyle and Steve on a road trip adventures. Um,
Oh,
but also, I mean, there's nothing stopping them from recasting and setting something in the 90s and doing like, because I was thinking, what would be great is if we had, new creators make their own version of Stranger Things in other settings, in other places, other geographies, or whatever. But I also wouldn't be averse to seeing a world set in the 90s or in the early 2000s, pero parang it's not Hawkins anymore. It's some
iba
other
na eh.
thing,
Iba
'di ba?
talaga
Some
yung
other
magic ng
characters. Yeah.
80s na it's
Yeah.
like it was the malapit na mag-boom yung technology, but it
Mhm.
was still analog enough that they could get away with everything they
Yeah.
were up to without parents knowing. And you kind of miss that freedom with like all eyes on you right now because
Yeah.
of social media.
Mm, yeah. Um, for me, final thoughts. Well, first of all, I want to thank the the audience, the couple who sent the questions. And for our listeners, if you have any questions about any upcoming titles or shows, just send them over, and we'll try to take a crack at them also. I guess going back to the show, I just want to pick up where Karen said about what she was talking about Joyce, and I remember like the first season, this was a comeback for Winona Ryder, and ang galing talaga the casting also of the characters in the show. They cast like
They always get
actors from
people
the
from the 80s,
80s.
yeah.
Yeah, even si
Si Sean
Sam.
Astin.
Yeah, Sean
Oh.
Astin, diba? Although his death was also very painful. But anyways, yeah, definitely Stranger Things was like is uh a magical time, I guess, especially in streaming. So it's really they really carved their place in pop culture. So yeah, now that we're coming to the end of the show, yes, I'm going to miss it, especially since Millie Bobby Brown, she even came here in the Philippines. She was still a kid when she came here, and hindi pa siya ganun kasikat. So parang it really marks this time when pop culture was really big also in the Philippines. So yeah, I'm definitely going to miss it. But then all good things must come to an end. Maybe there's something else in the future, a spin-off probably. Will definitely be looking forward to that, and I'm sure that Netflix is already looking around for the next Stranger Things. What that will be, we'll find out. Hopefully there is one, because I just want to talk about to go back and talk about yun nga, the binge watching culture, the binge watching experience. And if you have something like Stranger Things to binge watch, it's definitely going to be enjoyable. So yun nga, if you have the right material, people will watch it. So I'm sad that this is ending, but then that's how that's how life goes. And yes, season 4 was super big improvement from the last two
My
seasons.
budget.
Yeah, may budget na
Cinematic
sila
na.
pero yeah, parang they're going the cinematic route, guys.
Oo. I
So,
appreciated it naman.
mm. So, despite our complaints pa rin here and there,
Yeah,
but
I think
I
all of
can't wait
us,
for
can't
whatever the mall scene is in this one. Like that's
go
all
yeah.
back to the mall.
magical yun eh.
Yep. Yun nga, I just really, I think for all our comments naman, we basically enjoyed it pa rin. Like, I still enjoyed my
Oo
binge
naman.
watching. It
Yeah.
was still like you mentioned, Ika, it's an experience. And I felt like there's this shared community with other people who were posting like, hey, I'm at this episode already. And then you're just talking like, okay, talk to me when you're done.
Yeah, yeah.
That this whole weekend was just sort of whimsical in that way, that everyone was just talking about this one thing.
Yun nga, yeah. I said that it broke the internet because, it really did. So, yeah, definitely we have 5 weeks to wait until the last two episodes of season 4. So, yeah, thank you, listeners. Probably this podcast is a way for you to, to, to make the waiting a little more bearable, I guess. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Please don't forget to follow the FlipGeeks podcast. Give us a rating, and this is